Hello everyone, this is me, and today I'm going to present for my group project, my hospital database management system group with Animal, and we're going to be representing Jamesy, Anna, and Stephen for the group. Uh, so, so here's just the group member's name, and here's the content of the project that we were working on. So first, let's get to the introduction. So our main goal here was to be able to use a database management system to define, manipulate, retrieve, and manage data in the database. And so what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to create a hospital system using SQL to define different entities and attributes for the hospital system. For example, patients or departments, employee and billing, and also added relationships to link all these together. So our objective for the project is to first modify the our relational database schema, and then we're going to be implement our database management system. We're using SQL, and we're going to be creating all these entities and loading a minimum of 100 data sets into our hospital system. And we're also going to be designing 10 meaningful select commands to query data. Here's a little bit of what we were working on. We sort of updated the old database requirements. So here's the previous database requirement that we have, and here's the updated requirements we have. So what I highlighted here is the new stuff that I added to our new database requirements. So basically, we added professional certificates and licenses, and license type, and license number, but we did not have that in the old one. We do have it, but it was not multi-value and it was not a composite value. That's the stuff that we added here. Also, we added another attribute for the equipment entity, which is the name, because before that we only had the equipment ID, and we believe that adding a name would help clear out some confusion on the ID, because sometimes the ID does not actually tell you what type of equipment that is or what the name of it. There were just some minor changes to the requirements. What we mainly updated was the diagram. We added some street name. We changed social security number capitalized to lowercase, because we kind of modify that in the create table part. For example, I can show that later. But we also added a state to employee, but it was changed to a US state, because when Stephen was working on his creation table, the word state was not allowed, and he has to change the attribute to a US state. We also added equipment name to our equipment entity in the diagram, and we also make professional certificates and license multi-value. So before it was this way, and after we updated it, we had new composite value, which is license type and license number. And we make professional certificate licenses and multi-value, because a person can have multiple licenses and multiple degrees. Like a doctor, for example, he can have a lot of certificates for his profession. Um, so so we also changed a little bit in the relational schema. We were mainly adding some of the stuff we added in the ER diagram back to the relational schema. Um, so that is, for example, here's the previous one, and here is the new one that we added. So let me see here. So they mostly remain the same, except for the building ID, because in patient, the billing ID that references the billing ID in billing system was removed, mainly because we already have another primary key from patient pointing to you know uh, boiling to billing system, so we don't need like two primary keys pointing to each other. Um, so that's mainly what we fixed in the relational schema. So now let's come back to this. So here are just some of the relationship specifications that we worked on, and mostly similar, very similar to our previous project. So that's the ER diagram. Here's the changes that I mentioned earlier. Um, and then, okay, now let's go to department. So we inserted a lot of data into the department. For example, we inserted internal medicine, pediatrics, intensive care unit, and so on and so forth. We also inserted uh, values for employees like social security number, name, and such things. We also inserted patient, for example, patient information, email address, medical history, and we also inserted different types of equipments in our data sets. And so here's just a quick look at all the stuff that we inserted. We also inserted different insurance plans, different insurance ID. And so here's the part that Animal worked on. Animal, could you give a quick
Yes,
explanation?
so I have used just like the project instruction. Professor want us to construct 10 meaningful SQL commands, and I have added a whole 10 commands on the single frame where uh, each command can create a different unique tables. Like for example, when I select PF name, PM initial, and patient name and medical history. It just gives all those the necessary columns for the patient's name, initial names, and the history. So in that way, I just created all those 10 meaningful SQL commands that makes 10 different tables in SQL uh, database. And yes, I want to go forward now for another slide.
Okay, so before that, let me just show you a quick look at the code. So it's the part that Stephen did. He added different tables like employee, dependents, department, patient, equipment, procedures for um, for our project. Also, let me really quickly go back to Oracle. So here is where we did our commands, and this show the data that we added. Let me go back to SQL scripts. So here it show the work of everybody. For example, if we go into, maybe Anna can talk about what she did here.
Yeah, so we did all our work in Oracle. We created scripts for all the values that we inserted and all the tables we created. And then if you go to Object Browser there, it shows all the tables that we made. I think we have like 11 tables, which is all the tables like that we have in the diagram. And altogether we have around 140 data rows. So we inserted over 140 throughout all these uh, 11 tables.
And I think Chansey is here, so she's the one that inserted the equipment.
Yes, I did the equipment, so I related it to the department, what department would use that specific equipment. So I did some research to find out which equipment was used for which procedures and then inserted.
Yeah, so everyone inserted some amount of data in here, and overall it was over about 100, I think 130 data um, that we had. So let me see. So it was the one that had a lot of data. I believe it was the insertion. Yeah. So I also inserted a lot of patient information, billing systems, billing data, insurance data, and pays. Um, so I hope that's enough for this project, and thank you so much for watching, and please let me know if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.